I hope by now you've been following me and you see how authentic I am. I just did a podcast a couple weeks ago when I got back from the retreat and I finally downloaded it. And you can see I was sick. If I have something scheduled, there's no stopping me. I'm going to do this because it's for you guys. But I wasn't able to upload it. The end of the retreat happened. As you can see, there's a necklace in front of my throat. It's attached to this little cross and it's nowhere to be found. So I'm telling you ahead of time, if you're listening to this on the other places that my people send it, great. If you're listening to this and watching this on YouTube, you'll see clearly the cross is missing. It's just like this choker thing. You know, I teach you not to judge, but I just want you to know that's why it looks like that, because I wasn't even really looking at myself authentically authentic. I'm just telling you that, so funny. But I'm here for you. I show up for you. I work all the time for you because I want you guys together. So I never give up on you. Don't give up on your family. Here's the podcast.
Hi, I'm Lori McDermott, and I need everyone to forgive me today because I have been sick. I've had 101 fever for 4 days. I don't have COVID. No one's going to get sick over this. I guess I have the flu. And the thing about my job, I can't stop. The people that need me, I can't just take a vacation. I can't just get sick. I need to keep working. So I have been working in my bed, but today I got clothes on and I showered. It was difficult. I had some help from the great man I live with because I have this appointment with a wonderful woman who I worked with for a little bit. Her name is Pam, and she's going to come on and tell us her story, what happened with her and her husband. And here's why. You guys need to hear stories of hope. Everything you're learning from me is to give you that. I want you to hang in there. Don't give up on your marriage. Don't give up on your family. So come here when you need a kick in the ass to keep going straight. Okay. Pam, say hello. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being brave enough to share your story, because a lot of people are like, no. They'll say, as soon as my husband comes home, I'll be the first one on your podcast. And then when it happens, ready? Well, can we wait a year? 2 years? 3 years? And then I never hear from them. And I'm like, So thank you. It really means a lot.
I'm blessed, and I have to thank you. You're the reason I'm here today, because you made a promise to God. If you could get your husband back, everything that you went through, you promised you would help other women. And by doing so, you helped me because I was dedicated to watching all your videos. I would read your article you had on midlife crisis, cake eating, all that kind of stuff. And it helped me out tremendously. It took a while, but it takes time to put all the puzzle back together.
Yeah, it takes a while to accept I married this guy. This isn't him. What is he doing to me? How is this even happening? And then once you wrap your head around that, then you go, I got to do stuff. I got to look pretty. I got to get dressed up. I got to pay attention to what he's saying. And the answer is yes. These are the things we do to save our family. Take me back. Sorry, I might need a tissue just because of my nose. Take me back to what year did you get married?
I met Brian 1991. I had just moved from living with my brother in Nebraska, and I moved back to Colorado. And Shelby was just a little over, she was just a year old.
Who's Shelby? Is that your daughter?
She's my youngest daughter.
Okay, did you have her with someone else?
Yes. Me and Brian are from 2 separate marriages.
Okay.
We met, he has 3 boys and I have 2 girls.
In 1991, you had a girl, he had 3 kids?
Yeah, he had 3 boys and I had 2 girls.
How old were you?
I was 29 when I met Brian.
How old are you now?
I'm 61. I'll be 62 this year.
Wow, you look good.
Well, thank you. Shelby was a year when I met Brian, and Samantha would have been 7 years.
Okay.
And then Brian's 3 boys. Trevor is his youngest. He was 7.
We don't know all the names. Just tell me. So
7, 8, and 10.
Okay. And then what happened? So what happened? Because I think I'm just going to prep everyone here. You told me ahead of time, which I didn't ask a lot of questions because I like to ask them live because I want to hear it for the first time like everyone else is. So I'll ask the right questions. But you did mention that he had 3 midlife crises?
Yes, he did. The first one, we were together for a little over 6 years. We had only been married for 2 of those years.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, one day, he told me he didn't love me anymore. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean you don't love me anymore? You know, I was just heartbroken. I was young. I had no idea what was going on. He wanted me to leave, and so I did. I left with the kids, and we went to New Jersey and stayed with a friend.
Did you have kids with him then? Or just...
No, we decided not to, and he had a vasectomy when Shelby was like 2 years old. And we both regret it. You know, we wish we would have had just one kid together, but we thought, God, the Brady Bunch. That's
But
a lot of shit.
did you take those kids with you when you left?
Yes.
His
Yeah.
kids too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I made him sign a permission. God forbid if they needed medical assistance or something like that. You know, I was trying to cover all my P's and Q's. So we loaded up my minivan and we went to stay in New Jersey. Well,
Then what happened?
in the process, I called him every day bawling and crying, doing all the things you shouldn't do. Why don't you love me? What's going on? Why don't you want to be with me? You know, begging and all that kind of stuff. Did everything all wrong. Had a mobile home at the time, a modular home. So we ended up selling it. Well, it sold, so I came back. And then he started to slowly come back to earth. And then everything was fine.
When was that? How many years?
Not 1997. It was about 4 months.
Okay, quick.
4 months.
Okay.
The thing of it is there's so much I didn't understand, but I understand now. We were having a lot of problems with his middle son. And I learned that Brian he can't handle any of this stuff. Plus, his dad died from a heart attack. His uncle died from a heart attack. And during that time, he was the same age. And he was so afraid he was going to have a heart attack and die. And he never died. Yeah, yeah. So that's what set off the first one. And so it took a while, but things started to get better. We were having a lot of problems with my youngest daughter and her so-called husband. He's a drug addict, and, you know, we've been through an awful lot with him.
What year is this now?
I'm sorry. I made a mistake. The second one was he was just didn't like where he was in life, didn't like his job, was just unhappy. And he just fell off the deep end and got really depressed and pretty much lived on the internet searching for girls and pretty much just excluded me and everybody, you know, that was connected to him. Well, we happened to sell our house at that time, and I told him flat out when I sold the house, I don't know where you want to go. You either got to go with me to, we stayed at a friend's house till we could buy another house. Excuse me. And he just kind of slowly snapped out of it, but to make a long story short, we stayed with one of my girlfriends, and he would sit in the living room at night and watch porn.
Where were the kids?
And I was... well, the kids were pretty much, we just had Shelby at home at the time.
What year was this?
This would have been around 2004.
Okay.
2004, yeah. So Samantha just moved out on her own. That was my oldest. Shelby was around 13. Justin and Trevor moved back to Arizona, and they stayed with their mom. So we only had Shelby at home at the time. And he basically, you know, couldn't hold his job, and he was just in deep, deep, deep depression. So I admitted him in a psychiatric ward.
He went?
Yeah, he went. And when he was there...
What was that conversation like? Come on, hon, let's go. Go to the psych ward.
Well, he wouldn't do anything. He would just lay in the bed, and he was on the internet all the time. And he was so depressed. And I told him that something was wrong. And
Did he tell you he was depressed?
Yeah, well, some days he would, and then some days he wouldn't, you know, because you have that racing thoughts going on. You have the different personalities going on. And he just went into such a deep depression because he got fired from his job. And we were behind in our mortgage, and it was just one thing after another. And I finally gave him an ultimatum. I told him he needed to get on medication. So,
or what?
Or basically, I told him I was going to leave. I wasn't going to put up with this anymore, because he was doing porn like no other. It was really, really bad. So I admitted him in a psychiatric ward, and he called me and told me if I didn't come and get him after day 2, he was going to divorce me. And I told him, well, you can divorce me then, because I'm not going to come and get you. Well, after his 3rd day, I came and got him, because you only can have 72 hours. I went and picked him up, and it took a lot, but I had to really work hard to convince him to go see a doctor. So he finally saw a doctor, and they diagnosed him with bipolar. and they put him on medication, and it really, he did a 360, turned around and was back to his normal self. Well, you don't realize these things are going to happen. And at the time, I had no idea. I was naive. I didn't know what was going on. And I did so much research on midlife crisis. And one thing I learned is if they don't continue their crisis, they can have another one. And I really think he's a perfect candidate for this, because this last one started, I noticed last March he was acting really strange. Well, he had knee surgery. He had to have a full knee replacement. And he was always suffering a lot of pain and agony. And his our youngest daughter, Shelby, had a lot of health issues at the time. She has what's called an AVM. It's a malformation of arteries and veins that are all clustered up in the right side and the bit behind her head. It's about the size of a golf ball. And inside of that is a huge aneurysm. Well,
what?
Yeah. She could die at any moment, But anyway, to make a long story short, we we tried to convince her to have gamma knife radiation. She went under full surgery, brain surgery, in 2017. They couldn't remove it because it's too risky. So what they did was they had to reroute her blood vessels, and it took like 9-10 hours. And they were hoping to do the balloon effect to shrink it, but it never worked. So that put a lot of pressure on him. Her relationship with her husband put a lot of stress in our marriage. Everything.
Okay, so by now Shelby's married.
Yeah, Shelby's married. So she basically didn't want to do the gamma knife surgery, which is pinpoint radiation to shrink it. Well, she finally did it last year. But in the meantime, we were constantly having to bail her out from her husband beating her up, being on meth.
What?
It was, yeah. Her
What
husband.
state? Hold on. What state do you live in?
Colorado.
Wow.
Out of all people to meet, she met this psycho guy. And the ironic thing is, my oldest daughter and my oldest daughter's significant other, Gretchen, her and Shelby's husband are brother and sister.
Okay.
That's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So we went through a lot of drama.
That could take this conversation somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so what I want, well, let me just pause for a second, because I want everyone to realize, because I think sometimes when people talk about something that people can't relate to, like when they hear about someone getting beaten, I was at a conversation. I went to see a woman read a book, or she wrote a book called Abuse. She lives in my neighborhood, and her husband was beating her. And you just don't know what happens behind closed doors. Yes. And so when someone talks about it, it might be horrifying and you might not want to listen, because that's not what you came here to hear. But this is life and what happens.
Brian and I have been through an awful lot with their relationship. I messed up. I always put Shelby first. I put Brian always on the back burner.
But Shelby was his daughter, right?
Shelby is not his daughter, but he's raised her since she was a year.
Where did she come from?
She came from my first husband was an alcoholic. I know, this is just crazy. My first husband.
Okay, so you came into the marriage with 2 kids.
Correct.
Okay. So they're both your kids. So you had 2 kids.
2 kids.
Okay. Let's make that clear. We say we have 2 kids. One might be adopted. One came out of my vagina. Doesn't matter. They're your kids. Yeah. You have 2 kids.
So I have 5 children, and I consider all 5 of them my children. I raised them. That blood doesn't mean nothing.
Nope, not at all. I'm adopted. So let me tell you, family is who you decide.
And who cares for you and who loves you. And all 5 of them are great kids. They got a heart of gold.
Fantastic. Great. Okay,
so it's a horrible man, and it put a damper on our relationship. We had to move them. her being beaten up, rescue her. I cannot tell you how many times. Brian just couldn't take it anymore, and he went off the deep end. And one day, I don't know, but it would have been July of last year. I noticed he was just really distant with me. You know, Brian is a very kind, hearted, loving man. He is the feminine one, and I was the masculine, one. Right? It's not
You were
that
the
way.
dude. You were the guy with the dick.
I was the dude. He relies on me for everything. He can't even make a decision without calling me and asking me, should I do this, hon? What would you do? Should I do this, hon?
Oh, no.
He just started acting really strange. So I looked on his phone, and he was texting a girl, telling her he missed her and he loved her and all that kind of stuff. And I was mortified, and I called him out on it. He got really, he kind of freaked out, and he ran up to me and he told me there's nothing going on. We're just really, 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 really good friends. Well, he was coming home from work one day, and he calls me on the phone, and he says he has a friend that needs help. And she needs money. Can we afford to give her money? I said, well, how much money does she need? A couple $100. Well, it took him 2 hours to get home from work that day. She is from Venezuela. She's 23 years old, and she's a lesbian. And she doesn't speak English, so he kept pulling the car over to try to translate what she was saying to him. Took me a while to understand all this. So when he got home, he asked me if there's any way we could wire her money. So I'm doing all the work. He's on the phone on her patio, texting her while I'm trying to figure out, well, what's her name? How's it listed on his passport? How's this? How's this? And he wasn't working very well with me. And so to make a long story short, we ended up spending $500 that night because the Walmart wouldn't accept her because the name wasn't correct. It didn't match her passport. So I ended up going through Western Union. And during this time, I didn't know what they were talking about. So the next day, he had a doctor's appointment, and he was acting very distant with me. And I'm like, what is going on here? Because I confronted him, and I asked him, what's going on? Are you unhappy with me? And, oh, no, I adore you. I'm thinking there's something wrong. So I was really bad. He had just gotten a new cell phone. I took his old phone and I restored it to the current date. So I was able to get all the text messages that he was texting her that Wednesday night. It was August 23rd. And it was horrible because she knew he was married. Because in his text messages, he kept telling her, we're working on it. We're working on it. Are you okay? Where are you? She was walking in Vegas. It was all over getting pot. All over her need. She spent too much money, and she needed some money to get some pot.
How did he meet her?
They worked together.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. They worked together. So he told her, I sent her one of the text confirmations from Western Union, and she's no dummy. She says, curious, who's Pamela? I don't know, I won't say the F word, but he said, my effing wife, I hate her. And then she said, she's okay with all this? And then he said, my life is a complete mess. I hate her. I'm in love with a 23-year-old lesbian, by all means, is gorgeous, beyond gorgeous. I would do anything for you. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. What else can I do to help you? I was heartbroken. So we were supposed to go to a Bronco game that Saturday. So it took me days to think about what I wanted to do. I thought, I don't deserve this. So he was working that Saturday, and I sent him a long email. And I basically told him in this email that he doesn't have to live a double life anymore. I'll make it easy for him. Since he's in love with a 23-year-old lesbian and he hates me, he can have her. And I sent him a text and I told him, I just sent you an email. And he goes, what's it about? I said, well, you're just going to have to read it. And the thing, Lori, that I was thrown about, he was excited that I kicked him out.
Wait, hold on. Let's back up. So from the time you heard this, you got this data, which I really want to know how you did that, to the time that you wrote him a letter, how did you treat him? Because if you're living together, sharing a bed, how are you treating him?
I was treating him nice.
Okay. So you tucked all that away and you were just kind to him anyway.
I was nice to him. I was calm. And I did have some teary-eyed moments, you know, but I was trying to figure out what was going on. I thought, I am going to figure this out for once in my life. Something doesn't make sense here. Something is just, it's not like him to behave like this. And the things that he would say to me. So we kind of had a little, you know, a little text message thing a couple days prior to that. And I had found another text on his phone that I confronted him, and he was threatening to take me to court. And I'm like, Brian, what is going on? This isn't like you. What are you doing? You know, and he was trying to reassure me there's nothing going on, and he's tired of me accusing him of being with another woman, and he's not effing anybody else, and he's tired of being accused. And I'm like, Brian, I'm just trying to talk to you. And then he came home from work and he was a totally different person. He started to cry, telling me how sorry he was. And then when I finally sent the email to him, I had called him because I told him we have 31 years invested in each other. It's going to take a while for us. No, divorce was not mentioned. I just mentioned to him that, you know, if you're that unhappy, I want you to be happy. So if this is what is going to make you happy, I want you to be happy. But we have 31 years invested in each other. It's going to take a while for us to split everything up. So he called me and he told me, take your time. It's okay. Take your time. He was thinking I was going to let him stay at the house. And then he finds a place to live. Well, Shelby and Martin, my grandson, and my youngest daughter were living with us. It was too uncomfortable to have him at the house.
So the abuser guy was gone. She got rid of him, right?
Yeah. He was in Tennessee.
Thank
he
God.
was gone. He was in. They had split up a year prior to that.
Thank God. Okay. Keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So I told him, I'll pack up your stuff and you can pick it up when you get off work. And I did. I packed all of his stuff up. He came home from work that Saturday. Me and Shelby and Martin went into Martin's bedroom. So I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. He started to bring his boxes and put it in the car along with the clothes he could take. We were sitting there spying on him through the window. And I was trying to not be strong, smile, but not be like joy with happy, you know, but not be crying and, you know, begging him, why are you doing this? So he told me he has all of his stuff. He came in front of the doorway of Martin's room. And he was teary-eyed. He looked at me and goes, I'm all packed up. I just said, okay. And I just turned around. I didn't say anything else to him. I followed him outside, and he said that he got an extended stay. And then he got mad at me because of money. He said, I hope you don't expect me to sleep in the car. I'm not going to sleep in the car. I looked at him and I said, I don't expect you to sleep in the car. We'll figure it out. That Monday, he called me in tears. No, no, it was that following Monday, he called me and told me he was happy that I kicked him out. He said, I would have kicked myself out too with what I did, but I'm really glad that I got kicked out because I'm really happy. I'm really happy to be alone and by myself. I haven't had this much fun in a long time.
That's the
I'm
devil.
like, yeah.
The dark side is talking to you. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking to myself, what's going on? I'm crying, I'm bawling in front of my daughter. What's going on? And she's disgusted. She doesn't want anything to do with him. Neither does my oldest daughter for what he had done by, there was a lot more in the text messages. It was kind of crude of different things that he said. She sent him pictures and he would say, you're gorgeous, beyond gorgeous. And the list went on and on and on and on. And I have all these screenshots saved in my Google folder, in my lock folder. But so.
It's funny how we hang on to these things. I got some of that from 2012.
Yeah, and I have my hate book. You should see what I have in my hate book.
I'd love to. We'll talk about that after. Okay, keep going. I want to hear the story.
So
let's get to the good part. Yeah.
So I left him alone for a week. Well, his birthday was September 16th. I kicked him out on August 26th. And we would send texts to each other, periodically. He would go grocery shopping, but he couldn't go grocery shopping without calling me and having me on the phone with him. And he would be his normal self. And he would be kind of laughing on the phone with me. But then any other time, he was very cold and distant with me. But I had asked him what he was doing for his birthday. And he told me he had plans. The guys were taking him out for his birthday. I was heartbroken. I really was. To come to find out, he went out with her for his birthday. He went to Kohl's the day of his birthday, spent $20 and bought her a pair of earrings. And how I know that is when I cleaned his car out, I found the receipt in the center console. Plus, I got on, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, so I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But he spent his birthday with her, and then he had called me that following Monday, and he was crying and telling me how sorry he was, but he doesn't know what he wants, and he needs to find himself.
Yes, very common.
So I told him I didn't know what I was going to do. I can't afford a place on my own. And he goes, well, I'll split my knee injury money when we get it with you. And then all of a sudden he says, well, since I'm such a nice guy, why don't we get a place together?
And you said?
And I said, of course. Which everybody was mad at me and said, Mom, don't do that. It's not healthy. So
Did I meet you? Did you find me before or after that?
After that.
Okay.
After that.
Okay.
So we found.
I might have told you to get together with him too, because we got to keep the family together. Okay, keep going.
So he decided, he goes, since I'm such a nice guy, why don't we get a place together and we can each have our own bedroom. Because he wanted his own bank account. And I'm sitting here trying to figure all this out. So I started doing a lot of research. A lot of midlife crisis research. We moved into this apartment the 7th of October. I did a lot of spying behind his back that he has no idea that I did.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying, he'll never hear this, but that's okay.
Yeah. So on his Google account, I was able to look for all his Google searches he did. Well, and he had all of his TikTok accounts. He has like 5 of them, But anyway, I found a lot of stuff out that I was like floored. I couldn't believe it was the same man. So when we moved in together, he was great. He was nice to me, loving, caring, and I'd bump my knee, and he'd be like, "Are you okay?" And all of a sudden, that Sunday, we moved in here on Saturday. Sunday, he told me he had an appointment. He had one of his friends at work wanted to check out the tint on his car to see if they could redo it because the windows were scratched up. He went to church with her. And how I know this is I was able to look on his Google History translation, and I took screenshots of all of them. And it said that they were going to hook up and go to church. And he said he couldn't go at a certain time because he was moving. And she said, "Well, I didn't know you were moving." He goes, "Yeah, I moved this weekend." She had no idea he moved in with me. Yeah, I know. And the day, that day he moved in with me, he sent her this big text. I can't even believe he would even say something like this. He was telling her, "I want to give you this great big kiss and hug to brighten your day with the most passionate kiss. And here's a big emoji to let you know how much I care about you." And I was like, oh my God. It was hard to keep a straight face, but I found you. And that's when I found you. And I listened to all your videos, and I was trying to understand, oh my God, this is crazy. What do I do? But to keep it together and think, oh my God, will it ever get better? Is life ever going to get better? Is this man ever going to come back to reality? Because he was a lunatic. He was a different person.
He's chasing a lady who's a child who's also a lesbian? What does he think he's going to get out of it? Just like, what?
I know. And the thing of it is in some of these text things that he translated to her, they would talk every single day, and he would tell her how much he loved her and how much she meant to him. And he would always send her love songs. Well, in my research, that was one of the biggest things that they do is the love songs. Well, he was always giving her a shoulder to talk on because she has a girlfriend. And he would always tell her, I can't give you what you crave, but I can be a shoulder for you to cry on. I'll be your dad.
Your hero. He was her hero.
Yeah. So I started watching your videos, and I would do it in my own way. I know we called one day because it was our wedding anniversary, and you told me to ask him if we wanted to go see the new movie, The Dead. I can't think of what the movie was, but it just came out, Life After.
Oh yeah.
So it was funny.
Life After Death, I think.
So I got him an anniversary card, and I did exactly what you told me to do. And I said XOXO. And the funny thing is, in all their messages back and forth, that's how they signed it. XOXOXO. So I kind of thought that was funny. So it was really hard when we moved in on the 7th. My birthday was the 11th. And it was the most horrible birthday I've ever had in my life. He comes home from work. It was like he was doing me a favor. And he sent me a text. He said, "Happy birthday," with a little cake with the candles. My husband would have sent me a big heart emoji. "I love you. Happy birthday, honey." Blah, 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 blah. No. So he gets home from work, and he asked, I told him, he goes, "So what do you want to do for your birthday?" I said, "I'd like to go out for dinner." He goes, "What are you hungry for?" I said, "Mexican food." So he Googles, and we end up going to On the Border, because that's where he wanted to go. And when we went out to eat, well, he was trying to find all this he works outside at Enterprise. So he wanted to get some thermal heated Long Johns to work so he doesn't freeze. And he would get grumpy with me during dinner. "Hun, you better eat." Well, I was a toothpick. Thanks to him, hardly could eat anything because I was always a nervous wreck. But when I was around him, I'd never let him know that I was a nervous wreck.
Okay, so take me to where, like, what started happening? You're watching my videos, and you're learning things. What are you learning, and what's changing, and what does he tell you?
What I was doing is I was being calm. I was starting to put myself first and let him run his course. Be kind. But at the same time, I wasn't groveling at his feet. Wasn't giving him that attention that I normally would give him. I was letting him know, just like you would say, if you don't want to be with me anymore, I want you to be happy. You have the right to be with whoever you want to be with. I don't want this, but if this is what you want, I want you to be happy. He replied back to me, I haven't given up on us yet. I don't know what's wrong. There's something wrong with my head. He sat there and he shook his head. There's something wrong with my head. I'm thinking, yeah, you're crazy. But I just kept watching
It's very common.
Your videos on not telling him what to do. I never criticized him, never judged him. I would always stay calm. And you gave me some good advice, because I'd always ask him. One thing we would do, he'd come home from work, he wouldn't talk to me. We'd sit at the table and eat dinner, and there was no conversation. So I'm thinking, I got to do something. This is driving me nuts. So I used to ask him, did you have a good day? And you told me, don't ask him that, because he only can say yes or no. So I'd ask him, what was the best part of your day? And I kept doing that every single night. Every single night, I'd ask him, so what was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? And if I didn't ask him, Lori, so you want to hear what my worst part of my day was today?
They're clockwork. They like the same thing. Men are like dogs. They like repetition.
I can't stress to all the wives out there. I know I'm kind of rambling. We're scared because we're afraid that we're going to lose them. You don't realize the power that you have inside more than you realize. It's a course that you can't control, that it has to run on its own. And you've got to not worry every day, he's going to leave me, he's going to run out the door. Lori tells us to live your life. Cake eating, it's horrible. She tells you they get ugly, they get fat, they do. My husband gained a lot of weight. A lot of weight. He looks like an old man right now. She said, pop some popcorn, sit down, watch a good movie. We get more prettier, they get more uglier, and it is so true. I just kept every day, when he would leave the house, it was like the monster's gone. I would have my F you, and do my thing, but I would take a shower. I would make myself look amazing. I started making all these different foods because he loves recipes. And so this is something that I started to do with him. When he would send me a text, I never talked about me. I'd always say, so how's your day? I hope you're staying warm. Have a great day. I never talked about me. Never. And I would listen. Listening is a big thing. They are so afraid of dying that they're scrambling to live every life. And the person that they hook up with, their little young girl, listens to them. Where us wives, we're busy doing so many different things. They don't feel that we hear them. And one of the biggest things you taught me is to listen. Close my mouth and listen. And to repeat. Certain times he would say things and I would repeat what he would say. And I would just stare at him and tilt my head. And he would start talking more and more and more. Because I gave him the safe zone. The more safer I made him feel, the more he opened up to me. And I didn't think it would ever happen because there was a few moments that I broke down, but October was a horrible month. But he would come home. I'd make something different for dinner every single night. I always tried a different recipe.
Wow.
He would criticize me. I would take it with strive, and I would just sit there and go, well, thank you for that. I'll try that next time. That's a great idea. I always made him feel important, even though I wanted to hit him with a hammer. I wanted to call him a you know what. I'm thinking, you ungrateful piece of crap.
Okay, so I'm going to be the devil's advocate and say what other girls say to me. Yeah, but that's not right. You're not living your authentic self if you're not being a bitch back to him, if he's being an asshole to you. What do you say?
He would just give me advice, and then he would say, I'm not trying to be mean. It was good, but next time maybe you should add some more cheese to it. Or next time, why don't you try doing this? And I'm thinking, great, Chef Ramsay. Wonderful, you know?
So Pam, I was asking you that question, like what would you say to wives who said, you, Pam, are not being your authentic self? Because he's being an asshole and you're not telling him that's mean or whatever. What
My oldest daughter said the same thing to me. And
what did you say back?
I'm not going to stoop to his level. I'm not going to make him make me be a mean, hateful person. I can understand why women turn their lives and make them a better person. Like you said, you've learned to open up your heart. And you made a comment that your husband wanted you to go down and watch a movie. And you were kind of a little frustrated with him that day. And you went up to your room and you thought, no, I'm not going to be like this. And you went back down to watch the movie. I don't know if there was, specifics word for word, but he was very happy that you decided to go down and watch the movie with him. Because you put your pride.
Yes.
Because it's our pride. It bothers us. And yeah, he hurt me. I'm still mortified over certain things. But I learned to start loving myself and to realize I don't want to live in his shoes. I'm not going to be hateful like he was. Because as time progressed, he started needing me more and more. I know he was still communicating with her. Every night he'd come home from work, we had dinner, he'd go in his room and he'd shut his door. I know what he was doing in there. He was texting her on WhatsApp, Snapchat. I mean, he's 69 years old. And I started thinking, I really don't care what you're doing behind doors. I came in my room. I left my door open. I started dancing. I would put headsets in my ears, and I started doing dancing, and I actually learned to be a pretty good dancer. Great. I got a guitar. I started doing bead art, and he was like, wow, you're doing all this? It's like, yeah, I enjoy it. He would walk in a couple times because there was a couple times he was a little out of line. And I thought, I don't deserve this. So I would just tell him, have a good night. I'd come in my room, shut my door. He would come in, open my door. Are you mad at me? And I'd look at him and say, no, I'm not mad at you. I'm just a little frustrated right now, And he would kind of look at me and say, okay, and he'd shut the door and go in his room because it bothered him that he upset me, which I was kind of surprised because he didn't show a whole lot of care in the world there for a while with me. And
okay, so just to go back, when you were talking about that thing with me downstairs, I teach this, but I'm not perfect. And in a moment when I'm frustrated, I have to take a few minutes because I have to work through things too. Like I can get upset, right? But me being upset is all my problem. It's not his, it's mine. So when I work through it, they just want you next to them. They can be a total asshole. You mirroring the asshole makes you an asshole too. Just because they're an asshole, you be you.
Right. And this is what I did. So I just kept breathing, taking deep breaths. November came, November went, same thing. He'd go to work because he thought he was working all these insane hours. He was working 7 days a week,
That's a lot.
12-hour days. He's
When did
69 years old. He has bad knees. He has arthritis in his feet. And I tried to tell him before all this started, he was overdoing it. And would get mad at me and tell me this is the best he's ever felt because he had started to lose weight, grooming, making himself look amazing for his little senorita, all that kind of stuff last summer. But it started to catch up on him. So
Yeah,
December
that's
came
karma.
around.
Yeah,
It is. And this is what I wanted to say. Karma has set in on my husband. A lot of karma with his health has finally set in. But so Christmas came. All of a sudden he comes up to me, gives me a hug. And a big hug, and he says, I'm really trying hard. I want to try to give us a good Christmas. Because we started going out for dinner every Friday night together.
Yes. Date
And
night
every
is super
Friday
important.
night,
Good.
he was a different person. He would kind of stare at me. One Friday night, his eyes were all sunken in, and he looked like crap, and he told me, I need your help. I don't know what to do with my hair. Because he was trying to grow his hair out. And then he was trying to grow his mustache out. Oh, it looked terrible. Awful. I mean, really terrible. And he's like, I know this is hard on you. I don't know how much time I need, but my hair, I don't know what to do with my hair. He would carry a brush and take it to work with him. I'm thinking, oh my God, he's lost his marbles. My husband could care less what his hair would look like.
Yeah, your real husband. This guy, who is he?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
what
yeah.
happened? So take me through January and February because we got
So December, I got a little bit upset with him because every time he'd come home from work at 10:30 at night on the weekends, he would go in his bedroom and shut the door. I waited up for him and I sat out in the living room and I said, hello, hello. And he came back out. He goes, hello. And I said, I just would mean a lot to me. Is there any way we could like have a little conversation, here and there? He goes, what do you want to talk about? And I just started talking to him about, well, how was your day? This, and this. And we got on talking about her. And he told me he was taking Spanish courses because he wanted to learn how to speak Spanish as he did when he was in high school. So he was doing the Duolingo. But he stood there and talked to me in Spanish, pounded his fist on his heart, and told me that he was soul searching. That's what I do in my bedroom every night. I soul search. I'm looking at him like, oh, really? And he told me, I tell her I love her every single day. I'm her mentor. I said,
Ouch.
Really? Yeah, that really hurt. So I looked at him. I said, he goes, I'm still trying to heal from you kicking me out. That set a nerve with me. I wasn't going to let him get away with that. I was nice about it.
Okay.
I looked at him. I said, Brian, do you not remember why I kicked you out? Do you remember, the I hate my effing wife, blah, 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 blah. Then he says, I know. And then he said, I could have went anywhere I wanted, but I'm here. I could have had my Social Security check sent anywhere, but I'm here. And I just stared at him, and it's like, I didn't say this to him, but I wished I would have, but you're not here, because you weren't.
Yeah. Okay, so take me through. Let's get through because we only have so much time left because then this thing's going to
So
end.
he went in his bedroom, and I went in my bedroom. So I went to Tennessee for Christmas. We had a talk on the phone on Christmas Day. It was kind of hard because I sent him a Christmas text and it wouldn't go through, and it was bothering him. He didn't know what I sent him. So he kept replying, I didn't get your text. I didn't get your text. And then I told him I would love to talk to you. And I told him I loved him. And I didn't hear back. And then I sent him a text that I'm sorry, I'm making you feel uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden he called me and he says, I'm no Scrooge. I'm no Scrooge on Christmas. And then we talked and he said he was going to do better and turn his life around. So January hit and he started to have a lot of health problems. he had to have a prostate surgery because his prostate was the size of a golf ball, softball almost. And so he had to have surgery. He was off for 2 months. He had to have cataract surgery. So he needed me to take care of him, even though he was still communicating with his cake, his little horse face.
His cake.
His cake.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
even though he's okay.
So that's when I really kept reading your cake eating article every single day. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to let him put me down. No, I'm not going to let him make me feel like crap anymore. So I was super duper nice, would smile, make him dinner. I'd wash his bed. I made his bed so nice and neat. Made sure that you said, wives, step it up. Be the best wife you could. And that's what I did. And I took care of him. I took him to all his doctor's appointments. Had to wipe his pee-pee when he had the catheter sticking out of it, And then I snooped again and found out on Valentine's Day, I'm in my bedroom working. He walks in my bedroom. He says, oh, by the way, happy Valentine's Day. Real bland. Well, little did I know at the present time, after that, he Googled Spanish Valentines for my girlfriend. Went on WhatsApp. He was on WhatsApp on Valentine's Day. Sent her. I get the happy Valentine's Day. She gets the big meme. So I just kind of, blah, 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 blah. Well, in the meantime, I decided to confront him and ask him what his intentions are. I told him this lifestyle is unhealthy for me anymore. And I want to move to Arizona. Well, he wants to move to Arizona with me. And I told him that, I can't tell him what to do with his life, but basically I told him in a nice way, there's not room for 3 of us. I didn't give him an ultimatum.
Great line. Yep. Good job.
But I told him I said, I just can't do it. You need to do some soul searching and decide what you want with your life. And I never let him bother me. I wouldn't tell him where I was going anymore. I said, he doesn't need to know where I'm going. He would get up every Saturday and go take $60 out of our bank account and buy her pot. I thought, I don't need to tell this man where I'm going and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I went out one night and it was like, we'll keep the lights on. He wouldn't go to bed till I got home. I didn't get home until 3 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, and I never ever threw in his face that I was seeing somebody or anything like that. But my biggest advice that I can give to other women is to read your articles, to watch your videos. They don't have to say it word for word, but do the point. Listen. They want to know that unconditional love. I gave this man more unconditional love than he's probably ever gotten in his entire life.
So what happened? What happened? Because I know things are good now. How did that happen? Give me the end.
So what started happening is I saw him on WhatsApp. I happened to be on my phone, and I saw that he just logged on WhatsApp. This was in March. I walked into the bedroom. I said, who are you talking to? He goes, a coworker. I said, who are you talking to? A coworker. I said, I want to know who you're talking to, Brian. She's a 50-year-old lady at work. She's very religious. He was lying to me. He was talking to her. And I confronted him flat out. And I said, Brian, I can't tell you what to do with your life. You have the right to do with what you want with your life. Basically in those words. But I told him, I'm not going to do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore. I love you. I love you. And I want you to be happy. But, if this is what you want, go for it. I just can't do it anymore. The next day he woke up, told me, I'm sorry for all the bullshit I'm putting you through. And I asked him, are you done with this? Are you done with all this? And he said he was. Well, I knew he wasn't. I started monitoring his WhatsApp more and more, and he hadn't been on it since that day. So he was telling me the truth. But then I confronted him about, in order for us to move, you know, because he told me he wanted to start trusting. He wanted me to start, he just came home from work one day. I don't know what happened, but he came home from work one day. This was the end of March, beginning of April. And he told me he wanted to work things out. He loved me more than he's ever loved me. And he wants to earn my trust. And I happened to see on, he has a smartwatch. And I happened to see on his smartwatch, there was a text message that she sent him on April 4th that said, what happened to you? Where did you go? Why did you leave? And he goes,
where's my $60 for pot?
I know. And he replied back, it's a long story. My wife and me have a long history. Please don't hate me. And she said, I would never hate you, Brad. And then they text again a week later because he didn't come into work. And she asked him if he was okay. And that she missed him, XOXO. He replied back, miss you, XO. This was the beginning of April. I stewed on, I didn't do anything for a whole week. And then I called him out on it again. And I flat out asked him what was going on. I told him, I said, you tell me that you want this. And every time I talk to him, I always approach him with I feel this way. I never attack him when I approach him with things. He basically told me that he doesn't want to do this anymore. He wants to leave because he doesn't want to have the temptation. He doesn't want to, he wants a new life with me, and he wants to forget all about this. So he told me the only way for him to make it go away is to leave. That's his way of fixing it. And we had a heart-to-heart talk, and I told him it's not going to make it go away. We're still going to have the issue. We're still going to have to talk about it. We're still going to have to work it out. It's not going to go away unless we don't talk about it. And so he told me that it's finally done with her. And 2 weeks ago, I opened up with him again about it. Told him I saw on his watch that she was still a contact. He showed me his phone. We went through all his contacts in his phone. We went through all his text messages. He told me he didn't know how to get rid of his Snapchat because it won't let him delete it. And he told me that it won't let him delete his TikTok account, but he doesn't utilize it. And I do. I snoop. I look. And I know I'm bad.
No, you're not. You're normal. You're normal. You're funny, but you're normal.
So I called him out. I said, well, you texted her and told her. I told him, I was honest with him. I told him I took his old phone and restored it. And that's how I found out about the F and Y thing back in August. And he said, that's okay. That's okay. That's what he said to me. I told him, you told me that you deleted her. I said, you want to earn your trust back with me. He forgot his watch in the car, went up and got his watch. He was sleeping. I charged it, went on his contacts because he doesn't have a password on his watch, but he does his phone. It was still there. I called him out on it. And that's when he sat down and he showed me on his phone that it was deleted. And I got a little teary-eyed. I told him I was scared, that he works with her. And he promised me up and down. He just says hi to her. He told me he feels she's moved on.
She's got a new daddy, sugar daddy.
A new daddy. Yeah.
So,
and he told me he can't live in that bedroom anymore. He can't live in that bedroom. He wants out of that bedroom. He said that bedroom is bad. And I told him, yeah, there's a lot of bad things that have went on in this bedroom. Because I confronted him on a lot of things that he has said to me. One day he told me, well, your hair isn't gray anymore. One time he told me, I don't care who you sleep with. You can sleep with whoever you want. It isn't going to bother me. I mean, all these weird things that he has said to me.
So hold on a second. So, yeah, that's a good thing. So is he out of that bedroom?
Yeah, we've been sleeping together for almost a week now.
Wow, this is so timely.
He puts his arm around me. We haven't been intimate or nothing yet.
Okay.
But
it's on its way.
He does give me kisses. He does send me lots of texts, calls me his beautiful wife.
So I just want to encapsulate this, because it's like, you don't know what the journey is going to be. You don't know when it's going to end. And now it's slowly coming back together, but he could slip and fall. Something could happen. Not like literally, but some other chick or some other lady needs money for marijuana. Again, we don't know. But the point is, you have your tools. You know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're dealing with. And that's the part of strength that you have now. And that's actually attractive. You're attractive to him.
Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I have so much support. I went through counseling. Even my counselor thought I was insane. You know, my kids hate him. Everybody, my friends, my coworkers, my boss. And we shouldn't tell the world. And then it gets better. Then you're trying to, oh my God, what am I going to do? But, you know, you need somebody to talk to. But
1 or 2 good friends is what I recommend.
And I recommend that too. I told too many people.
Me too. Me too. Got me in all kinds of trouble.
My brother, my sister, everybody knows. But one thing I did tell him, and I hope this is good advice for other women. I did a lot of research on this too. We can't attack them. They do remember, but they don't remember everything. He doesn't remember being mean to me. There's a lot of things that I think he's ashamed of that he doesn't want me to know. But one thing he did tell me, he said, I know you want all the answers. But he goes, I don't have an answer myself. So I told him, we don't need to talk about this every single day. We don't need all the gory details. But we need to talk about it, even if it's 15 minutes, a half an hour, a couple days a week.
I'm gonna tell you that's too much. He can't remember. He doesn't want to talk about it. It's painful. But what you need to talk about is the future. What are we going to do on vacation? How are we going to stay together, even through the hard times, that are going to make sure that this never happens again?
That's exactly
what do we need to. That's what you can talk about. Dream forward. Don't look backwards, because there's nothing back there that's good. The good stuff are the good fun memories from long ago, but never talk about that lady, the marijuana stuff, the money that's gone. Just let that go, because that's a pain point for him. And if you keep bringing it up, it hurts.
I had just one moment with him that I sat on his bed, and this was last Saturday. I sat
his
on
bed in that room.
Yeah.
In the yucky room. Yeah.
In the yucky
Get out of there.
Because we were finished cleaning it out. And it's nice because his clothes are in the closet. In this closet.
Great.
Everything is right in here.
Yay, you know? That's a good feeling.
The pot stuff is all gone. He put his pot away. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants all this to go away. The only thing I asked him, I told him my feelings. I told him I was scared that I know you work with her. And that's the only thing that scares me.
Yeah, that's not okay. But you're moving to Arizona.
Yeah, and he told me the other day, he told me the other day that they're eliminating her position. So she's not going to be there anymore.
Great. Wow, Pam, this has been such an amazing call. Very long, but that's okay. No, it's okay. It was great. I like people to have, I want people to enjoy this and to learn something and to benefit from your story. And I can't thank you enough, because I wish everyone would talk.
To be able to share to other wives that there really is hope out there.
Yeah.
You know.
They have to have hope. inside them. Sorry, here comes my cat.
You do, and they're I know my kitty's on the bed sleeping. Sebastian, we bought a new car together back in December. You know, I mean, divorce was never brought up in my.
It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna get divorced. You're done. Everything's gonna work out fine. And I appreciate you, and you're absolutely wonderful. And thank you so much. I'm gonna close this now. And I love and adore you. And I barely talked to you. I don't even know if you came on any group calls, but
I did on a couple. There was the guy that was from the UK or something. Him and his wife. Felt so sorry for him. Yeah. But you told him to start new hobbies, and he did. And he said she started to notice. They do notice.
Yeah, they notice. It's you. You are the big. People say, "What's the biggest problem that I'm going to have?" And I'm like, "You."
I'm my worst enemy.
You're your worst problem. So, yeah. Pam, thank you. I need to go to bed because my fever. I can feel it.
Feel better. Thank you for taking the time.
No, thank you. You're amazing, and I hope. You. I hope anyone else hearing these. I hope anyone else who's hearing these stories comes forward like you, because I have trouble getting wives who've successfully come back with their husbands to be brave enough to speak. And
if I could get my husband to do a one-on-one with you,
I would love that.
I'm gonna see. I gotta give it a little time. It's too early.
Okay, let's pray on that. So thank you. Wow, that was a great interview. I can't even, there's so much to talk about from that. It was amazing. One thing Pam talked about was confronting. And in confronting, I usually don't agree with confronting, but the way she did it, it worked. And you'll know if you work with me that sometimes I'll tell one person one thing and another person something else. And it just kind of goes with their personality, their husband's personality, and what's happening in their life, which is why I like to get to know your story. So Pam is a great example of just, I don't know, she didn't want to give up. And that's what families do. Families don't give up on each other. People who believe in marriage and their partner, they're walking beside each other and they don't give up. Never, ever give up on your family. Your kids are watching you for a living, and you're showing them what it looks like to be a family member. Because if dad can leave mom and mom can leave dad, dad could leave me, mom could leave me. And how can a child succeed in this world knowing that the two people that brought them here move away from them? Then their foundation falls, and then they fall. And that's what I think is happening to our world right now. Don't let that happen in your family. Because as the world's falling apart, if you keep your family close, you're going to be fine. You're going to be great. And everyone inside that family is going to do well because you got each other. You're not perfect. They're weird, but you love them anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you supporting the channel. Please, please subscribe, and I will see you next time.